do any waiting. We're just gonna go live. We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna go live. We're not gonna wait. What's poppin', Ryan? How you doing, my man? How's your Sunday, my dude? How's everyone's Sunday? Let some more people swing in. Hope everyone's kicking it. It's finally nice up here again. No more like pee and rain like it was yesterday. That was not enjoyable standing outside, getting like drenched and downpoured on while waiting for the BRZ to get tuned. But hatchbacks were the most versatile option for us. So let some more people swing in. We'll start jumping into stuff. I have some EG33 updates for everyone also. Finally got in here in time. What's going on, Omar? Hope you are having a killer Sunday also, my dude. As I just bashed my tooth on my can. What up, man? What's up, Anthony? How you doing, dude? How you doing? Great channel. Hey, appreciate it, my dude. Hey, we did clean out the Impreza this morning. So it's not as dirty as it was, I promise you. Love your stuff, and thank you for everything. Anytime, my dude. I appreciate all the support from all you guys. Thanks for the merch, man. Thank you for the support on the merch. You guys killed it on the merch. We got a plethora of hoodies back there waiting to go on the website. These things are dope. They're super comfortable too. I have not taken this thing off since I got all those in. Yo, what up, Founded? How you doing, my dude? How you doing, my man? What up, Subi Dudes? Yeah, what is up, Subi Dudes? What's going on? Thanks for your knowledge. Learned so much from you. I am glad that I can share what I know. I still have a lot more that I need to learn too. But as I learn more, you guys know I share it with you guys. LOL. Yeah, there was a lot of like coffee straws and other stuff in there. We threw it all away. We got it all nice, like cleaned out and whatnot. Need the hoodies. I'm waiting for updated t-shirts to come in and a couple other smaller things to come in. Once all the new merch comes in, I'll get like product photography photos of it, get it up on the website, and good to go. Good to go. These things are like stupid comfortable. Though. I love this thing. Up. Oh, I see what you're saying. What up, dude? What up, Nicholas? How you doing, my dude? Tyler, what's poppin'? What's good? Just in time. Just finished washing the car. I need to do the same thing, but it's a little bit chilly outside, so I might just go through like a touchless car wash later. What's going on, bro? What's going on, Eric? How you doing, dude? Congrats on the BRZ tune. Should be a blast to drive now. The BRZ is a blast to drive. There's a couple small things in the tune that still need to be worked out. The car has a really hard time hot starting. So after I drive the car for a little bit, turn it off, turn it back on, I got to get some gas to get it going. So that needs to be worked out in the tune. Every now and then it'll throw a code for something. I don't have a code reader, so I'm going to go snag one either this afternoon or tomorrow. It's throwing a code for something. So next time the code gets thrown, I'll read that, get that pulled, get that noted. Intech told me if there's any issues with it, just give them a call. They'll get it worked out. So I'll end up giving them a call on Monday, I think. But aside from that, those two small issues, the car is running fantastic. It is a blast to drive, dude. That thing is so much fun. You guys have no idea. Well, some of you have an idea if you've ever driven a turbocharged BRZ, but that thing is so fun. So did I win my shirt? Anthony, you were close, but you were not the closest, my friend. You were close. Just picked up an 02WRX with a JDM EJ206 last weekend. What to do first? Maintenance. Go through, update everything on that engine. Spark plugs, coil packs, oil, everything. Give that entire engine a refresh before you throw it in anything. So that way, when you do, it's good to go. But what are you throwing it in? I'm curious. About to start a rebuild on an EJ255. Sounds like a fun project. Sounds like a fun weekend project. Dyno for BRZ done or tomorrow? Just got here. The dyno video for the BRZ is up and live. That one was yesterday that we got the BRZ tune, so it was a blast hanging out there at Intech all day. They had a lot of really cool cars hanging out in the shop too. They had a couple HKS RB28s that are stroked from HKS. Stupid expensive engines. I asked him, I was like, how much does one HKS engine go for? Dude told me 40 grand. 40 grand for an HKS complete RB26 motor. I was like, gee, or RB28, my bad, it's stroked. But 40K for an engine is just mind-boggling. Just picked up. Okay, we did that one. Jesus, dude, I completely just lost where I was going. Looking at going flex fuel, what are your thoughts on IAG flex fuel kit? I ran the IAG flex fuel kit on the STI before we parted it out. I loved it. I had no issues with the IAG flex fuel setup. I used the Cobb ethanol sensor with the IAG flex fuel lines, rails, and I used an Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator. The setup worked awesome. I had no issues with it at all. I prefer the IAG lines over Cobb's. When I was up at the mod garage, I think it was last weekend or the weekend before, they were doing an install of some Cobb fuel lines on an STI, And I wasn't a fan of the design. Like the fuel line wrapped up and around and went back over the fuel rail, which I just personally wasn't a huge fan of. I think it was the return for the fuel lines. But personally, I prefer the IAG over the Cobb if you guys are looking to get in some of those. So IAG all the way for those ones. What do I think of a 400 wheel horsepower WRX with stock internals? Which WRX, FA20 or EJ? You got to go on that one because that does change the answer. Sup, dude? Glad you're happy with the BRZ. I am like ecstatic with the BRZ. I'm finding any excuse to go runners and go drive that thing. It is stupid fun. The throttle response on it is it's so much better than it was when it was naturally aspirated. Like comparing the two from naturally aspirated over to the turbocharged application, the turbo setup on the BRZ, it responds like stupid fast. It spools up super quick. It's not a huge turbo on the BRZ either, and we're only running 8 PSI. So when it gets into power, it gets into power quick. I was playing with it on the way home from the dyno yesterday in the tuner, and in fourth gear, it'll break traction in fourth gear. It's not a lot of horsepower. Like 282 horsepower is not a ton, but the car it doesn't weigh a lot. Like I've taken out a lot of the weight. Like the trunk is stripped. I pulled out a lot of the other crap in there that I just don't need, and it rips. That thing is like stupid fun to play with now. Tyler just got done washing mine. Moment when you have to go to bed because you have school tomorrow, but Tanner started a stream. I feel started school. Oh, I forgot it was Sunday. I even said happy Sunday to everyone in here before starting the stream. Was this your first time turboing a BRZ or FRS? I think you remember mentioning you had one in the past. I've played with a couple in the past. I've never owned one. I've driven one or two before, but this is the first one that I've installed like an entire turbo setup on. All of my old BRZ's FRSs were all naturally aspirated. The first one I had, I think, was a 16 BRZ. Then I had like a 14 FRS. Then I had a 13 FRS. Incredibly fun cars, even when they are naturally aspirated. But the turbo setup going on there just made it like incredibly more fun to play with. But installing that setup, there's a couple like smaller issues that I saw come up now. That I've been driving the car for a little bit that I need to address. Like the turbo oil feed line is leaking a very small amount of oil off of the feed line going into the turbo. So I'm going to order a precision actual feed fitting for that turbo just to like fix the leaking issue on it. But aside from that, everything else on it has been solid. They did suggest wrapping the downpipe while I was at Intech yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to end up wrapping the downpipe just because it is ceramic coated. Yes, it'll help with like heat soak getting off the downpipe going to everything else, but it's also going to make the downpipe a lot hotter, which tends to crack metal over time. So I don't know if I'm going to do that quite yet. I'll kind of see how it responds. But for the most part, it's been pretty awesome. Sorry, bro, EJ25. So EJ 255 on a WRX, shooting for 400 wheel horsepower. It's possible the internals on that one probably aren't going to be too happy if you're pushing for 400 on the stock motor. I would at least swap rods and pistons on that thing if you're going to pull it out and actually build it. If not, I would safely shoot for like 350 on it ish. If you're really feeling dicey, you could probably shoot for 400. I've seen a couple of them touch 400 on the stock motor. As it also depends on your driving style of how long it's going to last, but it is possible. Not the most reliable way to do it. Finally made it to the live stream. Welcome, Tyler. Welcome to the live stream, my dude. Who has the best closed deck? EJ 255 or 257, in my opinion. IAG has been doing like a killer job with their closed decks. Aside from that, if you have the money, Crawford makes some really good engines also. What is the local? There's a local builder on like Eastern Washington. Woolman Performance also makes really good engines. Would look into him as well. I think between those three, those are one of the ones that I would buy if I was going to buy just a drop-in ready closed deck engine. That's what I would do. What hello as the final wheel horsepower and torque on the BRZ post-tune? Bro, you got to watch the video, man. I can't just throw it out there and tell you. What fun would that be? What fun would that be? I have a JDM swapped O2 WRX with AVCS after I put in the JDM ECU and AVCS wiring. Should I take it to get tuned? Does have minor bolt-ons. I would still take it to get tuned at minimum. It'll make the car run a lot happier. Even just doing the basic swaps, kind of like that stuff. Getting a Pro Tuner and E-Tune is definitely going to make the car a lot better. The issue with JDM swapped cars is tuning support in the United States isn't the same as it is like in Japan. Like in the United States, we have access tuner. So a lot of people ask me, is it worth getting an access port to go get tuned? Obviously, most tuners use access tuner to tune the cars, which means you need an access port. When it comes to the JDM cars, Cobb doesn't support JDM swaps. So getting a tune for those is a little bit more difficult. Most people do like open source tunes, but I would still suggest getting a tune on that thing. Is flex fuel required when going to the dyno, and is it worth it? It's not required at all. I did not do flex fuel on the BRZ. Is it worth it though? Yes, 100%. I do think flex fuel is worth the money in the swap. You get the cooling benefits of the fuel, you get reduced knock, you get more power. The more difficult thing for flex fuel up here, at least, is availability of it. So if you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of flex fuel, it can be a little difficult to source and find. And then if you do have multiple flex fuel stations, trying to like test flex fuel from each station to see which one has the best fuel is also something else that I would suggest doing if you do decide to go flex fuel, but it is not a bad idea to do so. Have I ever bought a donor car from an auto auction? I need an STI swap, my 2.5 RS coupe. I'm near you in Tacoma. I personally have not bought a car from auction before, especially a totaled car, something like that from Copart. I've looked into it before. In Washington State, you need a dealer's license from what they were telling me on the website. I don't know how accurate that is, but I have considered doing it before because you can snag a lot of really cool cars for cheap. But it's not a bad idea to do so. I don't know how many STIs actually go through like auctions and Coparts like that, but if you are looking to do a swap, it's not a bad way to do it because you're going to save a lot of money. The downside is you're obviously going to have to pull everything out of the donor car yourself, but it's actually not too bad to do. Army guy, yeah, flex fuel is not required for the dyno. Any suggestion on the best gear oil for the BRZ? I'm due to change mine in the trans and diff soon, thinking Motul Gear 300. Currently have what sounds like trans or diff noise on deceleration from 3K to 2K RPM. I run the Motul 75 weight 90 in all of my cars. The BRZ and the STI both run 75 weight 90. I prefer it for my cars. It feels a lot better. I've never used the 300V before, so I can't necessarily speak on that one. But from using the 7590 in all of my cars, I don't have any complaints with it. I haven't had any issues with it. If I did, I would have swapped over to a different gear oil at that point. But for me, Motul 7590 is always my go-to for that. As for the diff noise from decel from 3K to 2K, I know that the BRZs have somewhat of a weaker rear diff than they should. So it could just be worn. It could be wearing, depending on how many miles are on the car, how you drive the car. If it's still relatively new, I probably wouldn't worry about it too much, but throwing some thicker oil in there is probably going to be a little bit better. I think they come stock with 7590 also. So 7590 Motul, my suggestion on that one. What should be my first couple mods on my 20 STI? First couple mods, access port, an air oil separator, or a catch can setup. Cylinder 4 cooling mod isn't a bad idea either. If you're looking for power, a downpipe or a turbo back, I would not do the downpipe and intake combo. Even on the 20 STIs, the fuel system just isn't capable of supporting both of them. So pick your poison, either intake or downpipe. But either option's a really good one to go to. If you want more induction noises, then obviously the intake's going to be one. If you want the car to make a little more power on a stock OTS tune, downpipe's going to be the way to go. Is it normal to have a little bit of white smoke during startup? I have a 2017 Subaru WRX STI. White smoke is totally normal, especially when it's colder out. So a lot of the times if you get white smoke coming out of the exhaust, it's mainly condensation that's kind of built up in the exhaust. And when you go to start it, obviously the condensation is turning to steam and the steam is coming out of the exhaust. If it's like thick white smoke, then at that point I would be a little bit concerned. You might be getting some coolant that's being like pushed in there. Turbo seals could be going bad. For me, I get a little bit of white smoke on startup with the BRZ just because it does run a little bit rich when I first started up, so I get a little bit of burnt fuel smoke coming out of there. It's a little white, but for the most part, white smoke on startup isn't something I'd be too concerned about unless you're getting a ton of it coming out. What's the limitation on the dyno for more power with the BRZ? The limitation on the dyno for the BRZ, technically, we could have kept pushing the BRZ if we wanted to. We could have kept hammering it, but the thing is the BRZ is my daily driver right now. The STI has no engine in it, and I only have one car to drive, which is the BRZ. So we did not go full send in the BRZ just because I still need something to drive around until I at least have 2 working cars. I am considering going back to the dyno after the STI is somewhat running and reliable. so that way we can turn up the power on the BRZ. One of the limiting factors, or the most limiting factor on the BRZ, is going to be the transmission. The transmissions don't like to hold a lot of power. People say they're safe up to like 300, 350 horsepower, something around that range, but it gets dicey around that 350 mark. But the limiting factor for us is the transmission. If we wanted to make more power, we could have made more power. We could have turned it up to like 9 or 11 PSI if we wanted to. But like I said, as the daily driver and only having one running car right now, I wanted to keep the boost a little bit lower, so we hung out around 8 PSI, but can definitely push it a lot more if you wanted to. What is up? Well, what is yup? But I think you mean what is up or yup. I don't know. I like it either way. Love the BRZ video. I was way off on horsepower. I was way off on torque. I thought the BRZ was going to make a lot more torque than it actually made. Never got a notification for the video. I'll check it out later. That's what's up, my dude. YouTube's always weird with their notification system. What up, Fox? How you doing, my dude? Packing your order right after this video. I'm going to go drop it off at USPS also. Same with I'm going to butcher it again. Romario, the winner of the guess on the horsepower and torque numbers. I'm going to send his out also right after this. Also, did you leave the plastic under tray on your STI when you had the stock engine? Mine was off when I bought it and don't know if I need to get one. Also, should I run a coolant gauge on my access port? So, first question, plastic under tray. I don't have a plastic under tray on the STI. I threw that in the garbage a long time ago. The reason for that is because I have that big APR splitter that goes like fully under the bumper. So you can't fit the APR splitter under the bumper with the plastic under tray. So you have to lose it anyways. But the splitter itself will kind of act as a shield against what's going in there. So you don't necessarily need the plastic under tray. The plastic under tray also helps smooth airflow. But if you have a splitter that runs underneath the plastic under tray, then you obviously don't need it because you have the splitter. Hey, Steven, appreciate joining the membership program, my dude. Appreciate it. I'll shoot you some of the updates. And actually, I need to post a new membership update in there anyways for you guys. So for any of the channel members, you guys get updates. You get early access to merch. You guys get discounts on merch also. So if anyone does want to jump on that program, feel free. Also, I'm always open to editing your guys' photos for the membership program. Just no one sent me any photos in yet. So if you guys want your photos edited, shoot them over. I love editing your guys' stuff. As for the coolant gauge on the access port, you don't necessarily need to run a coolant gauge on the access port. The only time I ever run coolant on the access port is if I'm ever doing any work to the car that requires adjusting of the cooling system, like when I did the Killer Bee thermostat housing, whenever I swap radiators, if I have to burp the car. That's really the only time I ever monitor coolant, just because I want to make sure that coolant's not getting above like 215 and climbing after that. If it starts to get around 215, I generally shut the car off, let it cool down a little bit, then continue burping. But for the most part, you don't really need to run a coolant temp gauge on your access port when you're in there. 2009 STI. Okay, gotcha. Having trouble burping my EJ257, possibly head gasket. What do you recommend next? What kind of trouble are you having with it when it comes to burping it? If you are having trouble, something that I've done in the past is jack up the front end of the car. You can burp it off the radiator if you jack up the front end of the car, as it puts the radiator a little bit higher than the actual coolant reservoir. Generally, the coolant reservoir is where I always burp it from. If you are having trouble getting all of the air out of there, what I typically do is I'll go down there, I'll squeeze the lower hose enough to try to force some of that air out. If forcing the air out is not working, then what else you can do? Make sure you have defrost on all the way high. Rev the car a couple times. It'll help push coolant through some of the coolant jackets in the engine, and it'll also help push coolant through the heater core inside of the car, and that'll also push a lot of the bubbles out. I've had some issues in the past doing it also, but it can be a little bit of a pain. Sometimes it'll take me an hour. Sometimes it'll take me 15 minutes. It all depends on where the air is trapped and how much air is actually trapped in the system. Could I explain heat soak a little bit or do a video on it in the future? I'm not sure I completely understand it. Yeah, we can touch on heat soak. I made Matt and I made like a weird video on heat soak where we cooked breakfast in his engine bay. Heat soak, so essentially what it is, so you have your turbo that's putting off a lot of heat. It's putting off a lot of radiant heat. And what's happening is heat likes to rise. So when it's rising, it'll go from like the turbo to the intercooler. Heat soak is essentially when like the aluminum on the intercooler is like holding in the heat because it just has nowhere to go. So it'll soak anything around it that can absorb heat. As for like mitigating heat soak, turbo blankets, heat shields, gold reflective tape, anything you can do to get heat out of the engine. Like with the STI, when I did that one, we did the hood vents. We did a lot more airflow to try to push out the hot air and get it up and out of the hood. So essentially what you want to do is just try to mitigate where that radiant heat is going from whatever heat source it is, whether it be turbo, headers, anything like that. Anything that gets extremely hot is going to put off a lot of radiant heat, and surrounding metals are going to want to absorb that heat. It's going to want to hold that heat. So any way you can do to either get the hot air out or like keep the hot air in is what you're going to want to do to try to mitigate heat soak from soaking everything else in the engine bay. No smoke from exhaust. Well, that's good. That's good that there's no smoke from the exhaust when you're doing it. I would just continue trying to burp the car. If it's really not working and you think that you have a head gasket thing, one thing you can do is pop off the oil cap. If you have like pressure, like trying to suck in, I believe that's what I saw last time. Is that's also an indication of head gasket failure. But if it's like a new motor, new build, or there's no other symptoms or signs of it, you can also pop your radiator cap. If you see oil getting in there, it looks like a milky milkshake in there. You can definitely see that it's the head gasket at that point. But it sounds like you're just having an issue getting the air bubbles out of the car. So I would just try a couple of those methods and see if that helps. Small dog, you're being very needy right now, and that's okay. That is totally okay. 14WX, what do you think about OTS maps? Are they really that bad? I have a whole video going over OTS tunes and OTS maps. I would definitely go check that one out. That should answer all your questions in depth when it comes to OTS tunes. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of OTS tunes, but they are really good measures to use as temporary maps. But if you want a whole bunch of like in-depth info, go check it out. It's Understanding OTS Tunes. Should answer all your questions that you got on OTS. Gathering parts for my 2015 STI build, trying to push as much horsepower out of it. Stock block and trying to get up to 450 wheel horsepower. Opinion on best turbo to reach goal. FP Blue would get you there to 450. If you want room for growth, an FP Green or an FP Red, depending on how much power you want to push later on. Push as much power to the stock engine. If you're on a 15 STI, though, stock block, you're probably not going to get to 450 safely. If you have the Type RA short block, you could easily do that. But the popsicle stick engine, like what I had in mind, the 2015 up to the 2018, it's just not really a feasible thing to push for 450 on the stock block. Like 400 was pushing it for me. Anything past 400, I really wouldn't push for. I would get an FP Blue. I would do the same bolt-ons I did, and I would hang out at like 400 wheel horsepower. See how you like it there. If you really want to reach 450, I would either pull apart that engine, swap the rods, pistons, bearings, everything, resurface the heads, resurface the block, put it back together, throw it in the car, shoot for 450, or you could just buy a built engine at that point. If you don't want to do that, just kind of hang out around 400 wheel horsepower. You should be okay for the most part. Oh yeah, that power to weight ratio has to be killer. Just got a notification for the video. The power to weight feels awesome in the BRZ. I am absolutely loving it. I'm loving every second of it. King Richard, what's up, bro? What's up, my dude? Finally got my Smeedia gray t-shirt. Love it. Hey, glad that it made it, my dude. Glad that it made it, my man. I'm waiting on some of the new merch to come in. If you guys, I have some merch up on Teespring. If you guys are ordering off of Teespring, I actually might pull Teespring down. I'm not a huge fan of the way Teespring operates. They take forever with stuff. When you guys order merch directly through me, I get it like sent out same day to you guys. Love it. I love being able to fulfill your guys' orders. I write little notes on all the packaging if you guys do order through the Smeedia website. But hey, appreciate the support, Richard. Love it, my dude. Where you get the radiator burping jug I saw in your last vid. I have it linked in one of the BRZ videos. I have it linked in the description if you guys are wanting to snag one of those. I believe they're around 20 bucks, but they definitely make life a lot easier when it comes to burping the car. Installed the cylinder 4 cooling mod last month. No leaks. Bled the system and it works great on my 2019 STI. Hey, glad you got it, my dude. Cameron, what up, my dude? I see you, Cameron. What's going on, my man? My dude, my dude. Cameron, if you're trying to play some Call of Duty later tonight, let me know, my dude. Go play some Warzone. This may be an odd question. What magnetic drain plug do you suggest? Looking for them, and the reviews are not helping me. I would love Gretty, but the reviews mention magnets breaking. That's an interesting question, but I like it. So now in the BRZ, I run a Fumoto drain valve. I've never ran one before. I have like some weird trust issues with the Fumoto valves because I don't know how much I trust having a small lever control how much oil's in my oil pan. But for magnetic plugs, I ran the Gretty in my 08 STI, my 11 STI, my 17 STI that's out in the garage. I ran it in the BRZ before I put the Fumoto drain drain plug in there. The Greddy ones are ones that I've always ran. I've never had an issue with any magnets breaking off. Like, you really got to like smack it on something for the magnet to come off. But Greddy is going to be my suggestion because that's all I've used for magnetic drain plugs. I've never had any issues with them. Took my 08 STI to the dyno this week. Ooh, 322 horsepower, 320 torque. The motor has 156K on it, and the tuner said he didn't want to push it more with my setup. He said it would probably do 400 horsepower easy. I'm happy with it. Hey, congrats on the successful dyno tune, my man. If you guys have never taken your car to a dyno, it's a very exciting and a very scary day because you don't know if your car is going to leave the dyno in one piece or if you're going to drive it home happy. It's fun. It's exciting. You never know what's going to happen, but I'm glad that you made it through the dyno sesh safely. Even with 156K on the motor, I'm glad that it is running solid, my man. Thank you for the tip. Going to give it another try. Temps are good, but having an issue with the coolant rising in the coolant reservoir on the side of the motor. I feel it. Just try those couple techniques. Hopefully they help you out to get that going. Yeah, King. Okay, he's talking to King. When is the next merch drop? Wanting one of the hoodies. Been really good content, lady. Hey, appreciate it, Brad. So I'm waiting on next batch of stickers to come in because you guys pretty much depleted the entire sticker inventory that I had. Those are coming from Sweden just because I really like this company on Sweden that makes the stickers for us. Those shipped out. I should get them mid this week. The new T-shirts also ship out, or they shipped out Friday, so I should get them mid next week, I'm guessing. So merch drop will probably be next Friday for the hoodies, the gray T-shirts, and the stickers, and then whatever else we have left in stock over there. You guys pretty much depleted all the mediums, larges, and extra larges for clothing. So I made sure to order a lot more of like the bigger sizes because last time I over-guessed on what I was ordering because I had never done this before. So should have a lot more in stock. Everything's limited. I have 60 hoodies, 60 T-shirts coming in. So if you guys do want to snag one of those, I will make sure to make everyone aware. I'll probably do what I did last time, just upload a video for you guys so that way you guys get a notification. If you guys want to snag anything on the website, feel free. I ship everything out from in here. I write you guys little notes. I love doing it. 315 wheel, I mean. Hey, that's still good power, my man. Still good power. Which air cups will you recommend? Air cups, good question. I'm going to be running air cups on the STI after the motor is done, and air cup setup that I'm going to be going with is the Fortunato air cup setup. It's a little pricey. It's about the same setup, or it's about the same cost as bags. I think it's around $2,200, $2,400, something like that. But the Fortunato setup is something that I really like. You get 1 to 2 inches of travel in the bags or the cups on top of the coilover, and then you have coilover, just normal coilover underneath of that. But Fortunato is the one that I'm going to be going with. I haven't seen a lot of other people making air cup setups for VA chassis or Subarus in general outside of Fortunato. Do I know anything about the HKS 2.1 stroker kit for the BRZ? I do not. I've seen it. I saw the price of the engine, and then I clicked off that page immediately. I think that engine was like $12,000 to $14,000. As soon as I saw that price tag, I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Has anyone ever cut an oil filter trap door in the plastic under tray? Care to save time and oil changes 2019 STI? I'm pretty sure they have an access panel to get the oil filter out already built in there. Not entirely sure on that one. Do you know what safe power on the 2020 STI is? I'm pretty sure they use the Type RA block. They did use the Type RA block. I've seen people pushing the boundaries of the Type RA block pretty far. Someone's on a goal for like 600 wheel horsepower on the Type RA block. I know people have been making 550 pretty reliably with them. So if you are shooting for power, I know 550 is a pretty safe interval with a solid setup on the car. Your tuner will definitely be able to go a little more in depth with it for whatever setup that you're going for. But the Type RA blocks are a lot more resilient than the popsicle stick engines, as I refer to them as mine. In my opinion, is it better stick with one manufacturer for performance parts? Intake and J-pipe, I have a 2019 WRX I'm researching parts for. Not necessarily, no. That also depends on if you're going to be running an OTS tune or if you're going to go get a Pro tune. If you're getting a Pro tune, you can mix and match whatever parts you want. If you're getting an OTS tune, or if you're going to stay on an OTS tune, it's a good idea to stay with whoever you're getting the OTS tune from. So if you're getting an OTS Cobb tune, it's a good idea to run the Cobb downpipe, the Cobb intake, all the Cobb associated parts for that tune, just to make sure that everything is talking and communicating relatively well. If you've seen the OTS tune video, I go like super in depth with that setup. If not, then feel free to mix and match. I mix and match. There's no problem in mix and matching. Just make sure that the Pro Tune that you're getting is obviously going to be set up for that. Hey, appreciate the dono, Rocky. Appreciate it, my man. All donos help. Go to the channel and definitely help things out. Also appreciate the other channel member coming in. Thank you. I'm going to butcher your name, and I am so sorry. Vorlenis. Appreciate it, my man. Channel members do get special access, early access to merch before it sells out, discount codes for merch, and a lot of other good stuff going, and information before it makes it to the channel. So a lot of good stuff going on the membership page. But appreciate the membership and the dono, my guys. Where did I just totally lost myself? Manufacturer stuff. Yeah, feel free to mix and match, my man. No problem in doing so. I have the +1 now on there. Really want to go for more. Do it. The Type RA blocks, they're like super resilient, man. Those things are awesome. If you are like on a budget building your engine, the Type RA block, I think they're pretty cheap too. I think you can snag them pretty cheap compared to like IAG blocks. I've recently found your channel. I'm learning a lot. Do you have any experience with IAG short blocks? I'm saving for a stage 2 tough short block on my 05 Forester XT. With IAG, I have never bought an IAG block. I know a lot of people that have IAG blocks. I've helped install IAG blocks before. They're solid engines. They actually live up to what they have been hyped about. Like the hype is real with the IAG engines if you're wanting an IAG. They're really good drop-in short blocks. They're really good drop-in long blocks also if you're buying a long block from them, but that you got to have some like deep pockets to get one of their long blocks. But their engines are awesome. They do a really good job manufacturing, quality control, everything when it comes to that stuff. So if you are considering a stage 2 tough block from IAG, highly suggest them. I've installed a couple of them. I've helped install a couple of them, and they're beautiful looking engines also. Cameron, I'm playing right now. I might jump on some COD later. I have some errands to run and some couple orders to package. But if you're on later tonight, I'll jump on. Do you think they'll ever make a turbo BRZ from factory? No, I do not think that they're ever going to make a turbo BRZ from the factory. Here's the thing. The next gen turbo or the next gen BRZ that I've seen coming released, rumors have it that it's going to have a naturally aspirated FA24. I think Subaru is being a little bit of a cop-out using the FA24 for every platform that they have. But I don't think they'd ever put a turbo in a BRZ from the factory. I think if they did so, it would pull a lot of sales away from WRXs and STIs. If you guys have driven a turbo BRZ, you see how much it's an entirely different type of fun than you get out of the STI and the WRX. The WRX and the STI are very fun cars. I love my STI. I would not get rid of that car for the world. But the BRZ, if they turboed it from the factory, more people are going to be inclined to buy the BRZ than they would over the WRX and the STI. And the WRX and the STI are some of Subaru's like highest selling vehicles and some of their like highest profit margins when it comes to those cars. So I don't think they'd ever pull away to sabotage their own product to put a turbo in the BRZ from the factory. I could potentially see them putting a small supercharger in it, maybe, but I don't think they'd ever turbocharge that car from the factory. Do you need to install a pitch stop mount and brace on the BRZ with all the extra horsepower now? I'm not sure if the BRZ has a pitch stop. Just curious. I want one though. The BRZ doesn't come with a pitch stop mount. It doesn't need one. It doesn't have one. The way that it's just designed is just normal 2-engine mounts, trans mount, rear diff, everything just kind of in line with that. I think it could benefit from a pitch stop mount, but I don't think it needs one per se. I mean, I'm kind of curious now if I put one in to see if I can notice a difference. I might try that now. I might try that. Hey man, I own a 2006 JDM WRX. How should I choose the oil viscosity? So when it comes to Subaru engines in general, they like a little bit more viscous oil, especially the engines get hot. They break down oil a lot faster than some other engines do. There's a lot of heat going in there. From what I've seen in the past, 5W40 has been a very good oil viscosity to run. There's a lot of people out there who actually test like viscosities, grade, and like actually wear the oil. I don't have the machinery or the tools to be able to do that. There's a lot of people out there with videos that do it. Really good information to watch if you can come across a couple of those. For me, I've always seen really good results with 5W40. I've sent out analyses on the 5W40s before in the past. You guys can go back through, see the oil analysis videos that I've done with Blackstone Labs. When it comes to that, I would still run a 5W40 in there unless it's just a daily. You don't plan on running a lot of power. If you're still planning on staying around like 18 to 20 or like I'd say like 16 to 18 PSI, you'd probably be fine running 5W30. But 5W40 is a little bit of a safer bet just with the extra viscosity that it has. Think the new BRZ is coming with a turbo. I do not. We just touched on that one, though. Thank you for the answer and helps a lot. Hey, appreciate the support, my man. Have you ever thought about getting an HKS blow-off valve for the STI? I made a video. I used the HKS blow-off valve for like a whole 10 minutes on the STI. The STI ran like straight butthole when I put it on there. HKS makes really good blow-off valves, but they are prone to leaking. Personally, unless you're on like a full speed density tune, I don't suggest running a blow-off valve, but people can get away with it. Some motors respond differently to blow-off valves than other ones. Blow-off valves are always like a super controversial topic whenever I get onto them. Everyone has their own opinions on them. For me, I always prefer running bypass valves. If it came with a bypass valve and it's a math-based car, use a bypass valve. In the instance of the BRZ is running a hybrid speed density setup right now, so it does run a blow-off valve. But that's because we have nowhere to plumb a bypass valve back into the system to, so we just run a blow-off valve, and I think that might be causing a little bit of the issues that I'm having, which I think the BRZ needs a little more tweaking in the tune that it has. But for the most part, HKS blow-off valves, they sound good. I don't think they're the most practical for math-based cars. Do I still have toe straps? I do still have some toe straps right over there in the bottom box. So if you want to order a toe strap, head over to the website. I have no idea how to pin my own comments, but website is down there. I don't know how to pin my own thing. I feel like okay, well, it's in there. The website's in there. If you guys want to snag anything off of the website, I am mailing out orders today. So if you guys do place an order on the website within the next like 2 hours, it will get mailed out today, and you will get tracking for it today. I need some 3XL shirts. Can you make sure you get some bigger sizes? Yes, so I have 2XL written down on the board. I will get some 3XL on the next order just to get a little more variety. It's just when it comes to ordering and doing all of the own merchandise, all the money that we made off the merchandise last time, I bought more merchandise with. So I didn't actually end up keeping any of it. So it's more of a compounding thing. So as we get more orders, as more stuff gets sold, I can order a wider variety of inventory. It gets expensive to order a ton of like multiple sizes, which is why we do limited runs on everything. That's why we have 60 hoodies, we have 60 t-shirts coming in. So when I place the next order, I will make sure to get some of the bigger sizes past just standard XL. Next year will be a factory turbo BRZ, so I heard. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what they do. From what I saw, they were going to do a naturally aspirated FA24 in the BRZ, but we will see what happens. Yo, Tanner, you ever owned a GR STI? I've owned two or three GR STI, two GR STIs and a GR WRX. My first STI was an 08 STI, and then I later had a 2011 STI. They were both hatchbacks, and then I had a 2011 WRX also. That one was a sedan. But yes, I have had some GR STIs and WRXs. One of my favorite body styles is I prefer the hatchback over the sedan just because the hatchback's a lot more versatile in what you can use it for, but I do like the styling of the sedan also. My 2020 Subaru WRX oil temperature runs at 209 up to 230. Is that normal? It depends on ambient temperature also and how hard you're getting on the car. If you're just like normal driving around, when I had my old oil temp gauge in my 07 STI, I would see oil temps hang out around like 180 to 200. I never really saw it get up to 230. But the FA20s, I honestly, I'm not sure on that one because I've never ran an oil temp sensor in my old WRXs. If anyone has any experience with that, though, please feel free to help Gilberto out because I don't have the appropriate information to answer that, and I don't want to give you the wrong information. Where do I get all my bolt-ons for the STI? I order all of my parts through 2 or 3 vendors. So the Mod Garage is where I mainly order all of my parts from, mainly because they're local. I talk to Brian a lot. Brian is like super communicative. He's super awesome. If Brian doesn't have something, I order through Rally Sport Direct. They always ship things like stupid quick. And if Rally Sport doesn't have it or the Mod Garage doesn't have it, and it's a specific part that I have to order from like directly from the manufacturer, I'll just order it directly from them. Hey, appreciate the membership, my man. I'm going to butcher this one also. Chebson87, appreciate it, my dude. Like I said, channel members get early access to merch. When the hoodies drop and everything else drops, you guys get early access to it before everyone else does, before it all sells out. You also get discount codes and all that good stuff in there. So appreciate it, my man. Congrats on the new tune. Thanks, my dude. I got a call in tech again on Monday just to get the tune cleaned up a little bit like I was talking about. But aside from that, loving the BRZ, loving the way it's running, loving the way it's driving. For WRX, what mods give top-end power? FA20 or EJ257. It will just future reference when you guys ask questions like this. If you just say WRX, you guys got to keep in mind that the WRX came with an FA20 and an EJ. So just give me a little bit more clarity when you guys ask the question, so that way I can give you guys the most accurate information and answers. Nope. Don't know what that's in response to. Nope. I was wondering about the name stuff. Lennis. Real name Eric. Hey, appreciate it, my dude. Appreciate the real name drop in there too. Hi, why EG33 and not EZ30? Good question. I've talked about it a couple times. So the reason I wanted to do the EG33 and the STI is the EG33 more closely resembles an EJ than an EZ does. The EZ runs off of a timing chain setup. An EZ would have been a lot easier to fit in the STI just because the timing chain setup sits so it's thinner than an actual timing belt setup is. But the EG33 more closely resembles the EJ, which means that I can commingle parts a little bit easier to swap over from some EJs over to the EG to make it work a lot easier with the CAN bus system. This was my initial thoughts when going into it. Also, there's another YouTube channel called Subi Performance. They're based out of Germany. They did a breakdown on the EG33 and the EZ30. For me, after watching their video, the EG33 was the choice that I wanted to go with. The EG33 also has a little bit better of an aftermarket standing behind it from what I could find, like fuel rails, side feed, top feed conversion for fuel injectors. It was also a little bit easier to build because it mimics the what is it? The EJ, I think it was like an EJ22 or something like that. It mimics like an EJ22 with the internals. So it's a little bit easier. The only custom part that we've had to have made so far for the EG33 is the piston set. So we dropped compression from 10-to-1 in the EG33 down to 9-to-1. It's a custom piston set that they're making for us. So they're machining the pistons. I don't even know who's making the pistons. I think it's Manley maybe. I'm not sure. I have no idea. But it's just a little bit easier to get the EG33 working in the STI rather than going with an EZ30 from what I could find in the beginning. Plus the Haltech Elite 2500 from what I got from Haltech should work relatively easy with the EG33 also, because we're going to be running a standalone Haltech Elite 2500 in the ECU in the STI, so should be a little bit easier to wire everything in that way also. Oh god, I hated installing that brake master cylinder brace, left my hand raw. Dude, those things suck. Like, some of them are awful to put in. The one in the BRZ was super easy to put in. The one in the STI was awful. You want to know what's worse than installing a master cylinder brace? When you buy a master cylinder brace, you install it, and then 6 months later you have to take it out to run fuel lines, and the Allen head key strips, and then you have to cut it out with the Sawzall. That was in one of the old STI videos. That one sucked. That one definitely sucked. But we did end up getting it out, so I mean, that's all that matters. Germs, your videos are awesome. Hey, appreciate them, my man. Thanks, my dude, actually. That means a lot. I mean, I enjoy making the videos for you guys. I'm glad you guys enjoy the videos. I'm always trying to, like, change editing up a little bit just because I like experimenting with editing. So sometimes you guys might get a weird edit here or there, but you know what? I enjoy the videos. There's a lot of videos that I scrap, but I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the ones that I approve of and upload on there. Is it worth it retuning just for equal length headers on an 07 WRX? You're going to have to retune for equal length headers. If you're going from unequal length over to equal length, you're going to have to retune. You're going to be changing a lot of the airflow, especially if you're going from stock headers to aftermarket headers. You're changing the internal piping diameter, so you're changing airflow of the headers. You're changing the way the airflow is happening, going from unequal length to equal length. I thought I had a burp. Good enough burp. But yes, a retune is going to be necessary for swapping headers. Generally, you can sometimes get away with swapping like unequal length to unequal length, but I still suggest getting a tune because, like I said, you're changing the amount of air that's flowing out of the header up to the turbo. Always suggest getting a tune whenever changing parts like that. I was thinking about, oh no, where did I go? Willing to pre-order larger sizes. I will look into that today because the vendor that I buy from has some they have pretty big MOQs. So I'll tell you what, on the next run of hoodies, I'll put a poll out for those of you that are going to order and want to order. I'll put a poll out for sizing. And when it comes to sizes, I'll wait like 48 hours after the poll's been out before I actually order the next round of merchandise. These ones I'll probably end up reordering down the line. These are like super nice, like quality too. These are like independent training company SS4500 hoodies. They call them the BMW M3 of hoodies. Really weird way to describe a hoodie, but you know, it convinced me to go with this one. But I'll put out a poll on the next one, so when I place the next order, I know a little bit more of sizing to order rather than trying to guesstimate off of past sales. I was thinking about a 20 to 2021 WRX. What do you think would be worth the wait for the 2022? If you want to wait for the 2022, you can, but Subaru's been pushing stuff. Oh, actually, you know what? This brings up a good point. This brings up something that I've been like contemplating. Have you guys seen the camoed out picture of the new WRX driving around? It looks exactly like what we talked about in the video of, is this the new WRX STI? It looks exactly like it. Exactly like it. For me, I would order a 2021, or I would get a 2021. I'm not too big of a fan on the 2022. It's just not, the styling of it just doesn't pique my interest. If you like the styling, the 2022 would be worth it because you do get the FA24 in there if they are still committing to that for the for the WRX. But for me, I would get a 2021. Tyler, also appreciate the dono, my man. Always appreciate it, my dude. Heading to grab sushi with the girlfriend again. Congrats on the BRZ. It sounded amazing. Looking forward to the next live stream. Hey, appreciate my dude. Go get some good sushi. I actually might want some sushi later now that you bring up sushi. I haven't had sushi in a little bit, but have fun at your lunch. Drive safe. Get some good food, my man. If the next gen BRZ is the same chassis, thoughts on FA24 swapping it into the first gen? Do you think it would be a more reliable means of power over the FA20? I don't know yet. I don't know because the rumor is it's going to be a naturally aspirated FA24 going into the BRZ. If it's a naturally aspirated FA24 going into the BRZ, I don't know what the rods and the pistons are actually going to be capable of handling. If the rods and the pistons can actually handle more, then yes, I do think it would be a good, reliable swap into a BRZ. However, I don't know compression ratio of this new FA24, what they're putting in there. I mean, even the FA20 being, I think it's a 12-to-1 compression ratio on the BRZ now, it's a little dicey putting a turbo on it. So depending on the compression ratio of this new FA24 naturally aspirated going into the new BRZ, it could be a really good motor to turbocharge and swap into a BRZ, but only time's going to tell once they actually release specs and everything like that. I don't even mind to pay more for bigger size. What's the deal with the drive shirts? Is there any story behind that? The drive shirts. So yeah, the whole idea behind drive is when I started the sub-brand drive, I didn't want to just keep doing like straight Smeedia branded merch. Like, yes, these have like small, I always forget what side it's on. They do have like small Smeedia logos on the back side of them, but I didn't want it to be like massive on the front of them. The idea behind drive is to like always push for your goals, always like strive to do what you can to make it to the outcome for what you're wanting. Like, I always think of it like I have all this drive to go do all this stuff. I have all this motivation to go do all these things. It also doubles as like we all love to go drive our cars. I always like encourage everyone go drive your car, do whatever you want to do with it. Go drive it how you want to enjoy it. So it's kind of a dual-sided brand for the drive idea. I love it. I love the styling. It's simple. It's basic. I love the message that it gets across. Also, I don't know. It's one of my favorite. It's my own favorite brand, and it's my. I mean, it's kind of weird to say it's my brand, but it's my own. It's like my favorite like idea behind a brand. My favorite idea. Hey, my dude, just dropping in for a short bit. Hey, what's going on, Grease Monkey? Hoping you're having a solid Sunday, my man. I'm saving up to pay off my car with how much I'm working right now. If I save all my money, I can besides gas payments. I'll have it likely paid off in 10 months. Pay it off, my dude. Don't be like me. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but I still owe on both cars, and I'm doing some pretty sketchy stuff to both of these cars, even though I still owe on them. But no regrets. I don't care. I'll pay them off at some point. I'm just fine modifying a car that I still owe on. I have no problem with it. But this obviously the smarter thing to do is definitely pay off the car first and then modify it. I'm not always the best example of that. Rally Sport Direct is awesome. They are awesome. Their support team over there is super cool. I've talked to Rick over at Rally Sport a couple times. He's super chill, super cool dude also. Rally Sport, they used to get a lot of my business before Mod Garage opened up, and now it's kind of like split like 60-40 between Mod Garage and Rally Sport. Also, the oil temp in my 18 WRX is 210, never got above 220. Okay, that's a good comparison to have for the earlier comment on the oil temp one because I didn't have too much info on that one. What do you recommend for short throw shifter on a 2019 WRX? I love this question. My go-to shifter setup for the FA20 WRX setup, Boomba short throw shifter, Perrin shifter stop, and Perrin shifter bushing. That's all you need. Or the IRP makes a pretty good one for the FA20 WRX also. Boomba or IRP. But those alone should get that shifter feel a lot better. That was one thing that I just hated in my FA20 WRXs when I had them as well, was just that shifter feel. Felt awful, never enjoyed it, never could stand behind it, but those should make it a lot better for just daily driving. I actually ordered from SMY lately. They've been super cool and offer me local pickup. Oh, that's kind of cool. I've ordered from SMY a couple times. All my gauge clusters that I normally get are always SMY. They make really good stuff for that. 2017 FAWRX. 2017 FA20 WRX. What power mounts give top end power? Killer B equal length header setup is going to be a solid one with the dual external wastegates. J pipe, well, turbo back. We'll just say turbo back on that one. Intake, electronic boost port, controller, EGR, TGV deletes. Intercooler should give you some solid top end power with a Pro Tune. You should be enjoying the car, like definitely a lot more for that top end. Tanner, hey Ryan. Hey Ryan, if you're up at TMG later, let me know and I'll swing that bracket up for you and drop it off so that way you can use it for future projects. Want to put on a catback exhaust in my 2016 STI. Any suggestions? If you want something like stupid loud like mine, get the ETS Extreme, no mufflers. If you want something a little bit more tamed, the NVIDIA R400 is a pretty good choice. And if you want something even more tamed, the NVIDIA Q300 is a pretty good choice. A lot of people suggest the Tomei. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the styling of the Tomei. I think it sounds really good. I just think the muffler is like way too massive for me. It's Diablo Eagle 6. Found engine oil in my left AVCS sensor. Really don't know exactly where the oil is coming from. I'm assuming the gasket is worn out. I would swap, depending on the mileage, I would go through there. I'd start swapping gaskets anyways, if it is like time to do so, if you are finding oil seeping around in there. I'm trying to like even think of like how it would, is it seeping in from like the top into the AVCS sensor? It all depends on where the oil's coming from on that one. Haltech Elite 2500 is definitely a good pickup. Yeah, so I emailed Haltech directly when it came to figuring out what ECU we're going to run in the STI. I told them what the setup is for the car, how much power I want to make, the engine specifics. The Elite 2500 is what they suggested using, so that's what we're going with. Plus, Haltech offers like really good customer support too. I still need to narrow down a tuner for the EG33. I want to find someone who's like well versed in tuning flat sixes with Haltech standalones. So hopefully I can find someone in the local area. If it really comes down to it and I have to save up some money to trailer the car out to a tuner, I will definitely do so. But I want that thing to be tuned by the like most like experienced flat six tuner. That is my goal for the STI. Greetings from Great White North, Tanner. What's going on, my man? Getting ready for winter on ISC street coilovers and other suspension goodies. How should I set up my car for winter on STI with winters? Obviously, winter tires are going to be a really good go-to for that one. If you want to protect your coilovers, especially being up north where they salt the roads a little bit more, ISC makes these really cool like coilover covers that'll keep like salt, road grime off of the coilover so that way they don't rust and they don't rust as fast. That's a very good idea to do. Also, like salt protection, like undercoating. That's another one. If you do need to raise the car up a little bit, also not a bad idea to do. I'm assuming you guys get a little bit. Well, I'm assuming you guys get snow up there also. So one thing that I've had issues with in the past down here is when it snows, is I'll get snow packed up in the wheel wells just from the car being a little bit too low. Then I got to go in there with like a broom and like knock out all the snow. But raising the car up, those coilover covers aren't a bad idea. Obviously, winter tires and an undercoating should get you through the winter pretty well. I bought the Cusco brake brace. Took me 3 tries to get it in there right. I prepped the screw. Dude, those they're awful to get in there. There's like no room. You got like fuel lines in the way. You got to like get into the wheel well if you have a WRX or an STI. Those things are annoying to get in there, but definitely well worth it. What color options will you have for the drive hoodies? Right now, the drive hoodies are only going to be in the black and white setup. As things grow and I can order more stock, I'll definitely do other colors. I was thinking like red, black, white, gray, maybe a blue, something like that. So right now they're only black, but as time goes on, we will definitely get more colors in as well. Love your videos, man. I've learned a lot from them. Hey, appreciate it, Johnny. HTO was wild this year. Said it's over so many Subarus. It was unbelievable. But I do have a serious question. Is there any way to convert the new symmetrical all-wheel drive in the 2015 WRX to rear-wheel drive? You can convert it to rear-wheel drive. What a lot of people do when they do all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive conversions is they'll weld the center diff, they'll plug the axle, like the axles where the axles go into the transmission. They'll plug those, and then they'll just run rear-wheel drive that way. it works. I'll say it works. It's probably not the most reliable way. It works. You're obviously gonna have like the all-wheel drive light and a couple other lights on. Your car's not always going to be the happiest, but if you like truly want to rear-wheel drive, that's one way to do it. The way that I suggest doing it is if you want a rear-wheel drive setup in your WRX or your STI and you want to do it reliably, what I suggest doing is buying a BRZ transmission. Buy a BRZ transmission, it'll bolt right up to your FA20. Build that transmission though, because the stock FA or the stock BRZ transmissions, they don't hold power for like anything over 350. So buy a gear set, strengthen the actual case for the transmission, get it thrown in there. It's going to be the most reliable way to rear wheel drive swap your FA20 WRX. You want to do it the cheap way, weld the diff, plug the front axle plugs for the transmission. Give some thumbs up. Thumbs up. I know what you mean, though. I'm picking up what you're putting down, man. Does running your 2015 WRX all the way to redline for a little bit clean out the carbon deposit on the valves? No, it does not. Typically, with older cars, when you like run it up to redline to clean carbon deposits off, you'd have fuel spraying over there, so the fuel would help wash off because you're putting a lot more fuel over the valves, and the fuel is what's cleaning the carbon deposits off of the valves. Unfortunately, with the FA20, it's just shooting fuel directly into the cylinder, so you're not getting any type of cleaning or fuel going over the valves. The best way to do it, obviously, pull off the intake manifold, walnut blast the valves, get it nice and clean. Every 30,000 miles-ish is what you can do. Subaru also has like a slow induction service. If you go to Subaru, they put a chemical in there. It feeds over the valves, and it cleans off the valves. That's one way of doing it as well. Thanks, man, to you. Nice stream. Hey, appreciate it, my man. I'm just here to hang out with you guys, kind of kick it and hang out. Do you switch between 5W30 and 40 throughout the year? No, typically I always stick with 5W40, except when I'm doing the oil analysis videos. That's typically the only time I ever ran 5W30, but normally I always stick with 5W40. Cobb catback is kind of tame too. It is, but I don't suggest the Cobb catback just because it's like stupid expensive for what it is compared to the other ones on the market. I think the Cobb titanium catback is the one that they sell. I think it's like $1,800 for a catback. Like, your boy is not paying $1,800 for a catback. I can tell you that right now. Not gonna happen. Pretty sure it's identical to the Borla. I think so, just with a heavy markup. I got my foot and rear strut bars through Commie Speed. They've been pretty good. I have never heard of them before, but I'll have to check them out if they have any cool parts that I might need. Glad I dropped in for the live stream. Keep up the good work and evolving. I'm sure the channel will grow exponentially. Hyped to see the finished STI swap. Hey, appreciate it, my dude. Same. We should get the motor back from out front mid to late October. Like I said in the last video, Delta cams did finish our cams. We got those sent down to out front. They should be getting those mid next week-ish. To keep the build going. I still owe them another like $1,300 towards the engine, plus shipping back up here. So I'm going to guess around like $1,800 is what I still owe them. So next payday, going to pay that off. Once that's paid off and the engine's finished, we'll get that back up here. We'll get it going in the STI. Also, what's your thoughts on top-mount oil cooler? Any brand suggestion? The WRXs are going to be a lot easier to do a top-mounted oil cooler. On the STI, it's a lot more difficult because you have intercooler piping in the way, your throttle body sets higher, and the intake manifold is a little bit in the way also. But if you are running a front-mount intercooler and you want a top-mount oil cooler, it's actually a very good idea to do because you're utilizing that hood scoop to get a lot of that airflow over it instead of just trying to stack it all up in the front like I had to do with the BRZ. So it's honestly a really good option to do if you have the capabilities to do so. How strong is the 2019 STI block and rod? It's pretty strong. People are making like 550, 600 on the stock engine. Not too sure on the reliability aspect of that quite yet because it's still relatively new into the Subaru world of having the Type RA short block readily available to everyone to use. So not sure how long it'll last, but definitely a good option to be able to use. Where did I just go? What do you think is better, FA20 WRX or EJ25 STI? I think they're good in their own ways. Personally, I prefer the STI just because you get more top-end power, a little bit easier. The STI or the EJ25 has also been around a lot longer, so there's also a lot more R&D that's gone into that engine. I think the FA20 is very good as it's much more fuel efficient. It's a much more efficient engine. The cooling aspects of the FA20 are a lot better. Also, it's also a lot easier to make power. But you also make power a lot lower unless you're swapping out the turbo, you're going with a different setup. But I think they're both really good engines just in their own way. If you're tracking the car, I think the EJ25 is going to be a better track engine than the FA20 would, but the FA20 is still fully capable of being a very good track car, or track engine in a track car. I'm considering lowering my car with just lowering coils and not coil overs. Is there a brand of aftermarket shocks and springs that you recommend experience that you would? KYB makes some really good struts. And who is it? Oh my God. RCE Yellows. RCE Yellows are really good springs also. I'll look into Boomba and Billet Works. Thanks, my dude. Anytime, my man. Grease up the threads on the coilovers. Another good thing to do. You don't want those things to seize. Nice day today in Washington. It is. It's so sunny and nice out. I'm loving it. I looked at oil filters. It seems I'm getting a Cusco filter. Nothing wrong with Cusco filters. I run Cusco filters on the BRZ. They work awesome. They're awesome filters. My man, what up, Rafael? Did I say that right? Rafael. I'm so bad with butchering names, you guys. I'm so sorry. To prevent as much as carbon deposit on the valves, put in oil. Yeah, air oil separator, EGR delete will definitely help with that. Also, water mouth, really good suggestion. What intake manifold would I recommend? For what car, my dude? IBR just came out with a new intake manifold for the FA20WX. I think it looks like a child drew it. But from what I saw, it's supposed to be an extremely functional intake manifold. Process West makes some really good ones also. HMS makes some really good ones. Is it HMS? HMS? That sounds right. HMS. Hey, appreciate the donut, Rocky. With going stage 3 on the 20 STI, other than AOS, do you need any supporting mods, i.e. bushings? You shouldn't need any other ones, depending on how much power you're making on stage 3. If you're only going to be running pump gas, that clutch will be just fine for you. An AOS, a cylinder 4 cooling mod, and a radiator would be my basic suggestions for longevity mods. They'll definitely help extend the lifespan of the car, and they'll help take some of the load off of just how much the car has to work if it's running more efficient. So those would be my 3 reliability mods to make sure you put on there. And like I said, if you're staying on pump gas and you're going to be around a stage 3 setup on that car, which should be injectors, fuel pump, turbo back intake, you should be totally fine on the stock clutch, my dude. Running an aftermarket downpipe. What fuel mods are needed to run an aftermarket intake? So at minimum for the 20 plus STIs, they don't like to run intake and downpipe combos. If you do want to run an intake and downpipe combo, what I suggest getting at minimum is going to be a fuel pump, a DW like 65C, 300C, whatever fuel pump you want to run for however much power you're planning on shooting for. At minimum, some ID 1050s or Cobb 1050s. They're the exact same injector. Cobb just rebrands ID injectors and sells them for a little bit more. And then at minimum, the Cobb fuel stumble fix. Those are the only fuel mods you should need to be able to run both of those, and you'll also be able to see the gains from both of those as well. I see a lot of people say that they got pro-tuned. Having an intake and a downpipe on a 15 plus STI, it's very possible to do so, but keep in mind you're not going to be getting any of the benefits from either one. Your tuner is going to have to limit boost to make sure that you have the fueling needs to be able to meet the boost that you're making. So you're not going to be fully utilizing an intake and a downpipe if you're going to get a pro tune like that. They're just going to end up turning your boost down a little bit so that way you don't blow up your engine and it doesn't run too lean. After rebleeding from radiator instead of expansion tank, squeeze bottom hose before starting the process of while the engine is running. I do it before the engine's running and while the engine's running. It can be a little sketchy to stick your hand down there to grab that lower radiator hose while the engine's running. Just make sure you don't get caught in the belts. I've done that before, and it is painful. It will rip off skin. I can tell you that now. Just be careful when you are down there. I would try bleeding it from the upper expansion tank first. If that's not working, then try jacking up the front end of the car and doing it from the radiator. I just finished watching your blow-off valve, bypass valve video, and wanted to ask, is it better to not use a blow-off valve at all, or would I be able to get it tuned and drive around? What problems? So you can if you get a pro tune with a blow-off valve, the ECU has an idea of what's going on and where the air is going. Where the real problem is when people put blow-off valves on cars running OTS tunes or stock tunes, because the ECU has no idea where that air is going. Every engine is going to respond differently to a blow-off valve. Like I said earlier, personally, if the car came with a bypass valve and you're still running MAF, I suggest a bypass valve. If you're running speed density, a blow-off valve. If you want to run a hybrid setup where you have like the hybrid blow-off valve bypass valve, I wouldn't run it more than like 40% blow-off valve, 60% bypass valve. That's going to keep the majority of the air going back into the system, but you can run a blow-off valve if you're pro-tuned with it, so that way the ECU has some idea of what's going on and where the air is going. Is it recommended? Is your recommended oil still Motul XS? Saw there's both. So E-Clean I suggest for FA20WXs. XS I suggest for EJ257s. I also would suggest the XS in the FA20 BRZ or the BRZ FRS GT86 because you still have port injection. So that would be my suggestion. E-Clean if you're FA20WX. XS if you're EJ or FA20 BRZ. You said FA20 make easy power, but low end. The easy fix to that is turbo. A turbo will definitely help move the power band depending on what turbo you go with. The stock turbo, it's not a huge turbo. If you guys have ever seen the stock turbo, it's not massive. It's not huge. It kind of runs out of breath up in the higher RPM band. That can be fixed with some tuning, and you can get a little more top end out of it. But obviously, a bigger turbo is going to give you some more top end power with that. Also, what power limit can the FA handle? So that is a good question. I've seen stock FA20WXs make 500 wheel horsepower. I've seen stock FA20WXs make, not stock FA20WX, but stock block FA20WX make up to 500, and it's still running around today, still driving around. I've seen other ones blow up at like 300. So it's a gamble of how you drive, what mods are done to the car, how well the tune is. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I've seen them handle up to 500. I probably wouldn't push it more than like 4 to 410 reliably and hang out around that zone. But like I said, depends on the tuner, depends on the mods, depends on the driver. Expensive, but they look awesome and really well built. That they do, my friend. That they do. How hard is it to change piston seal rings on an STI? Well, you got to take the entire block apart. You got to take the pistons out of there too. If you know what you're doing, it's not too bad. If you know how to split, if you know how to get the heads off, you can get the pistons out. It's a pain. It's a pain to do. Don't get me wrong. It's possible. It's not too bad to do. If you really don't feel like doing it, pay a shop to do it. They'll probably charge you around $1,000 if you bring them just the engine with the heads torn off already. Actually, no, with the heads still on there. It's not too bad. Really annoying to do. You got to pull the heads off. You got to pull the piston out. You got to knock the wrist. Well, you got to knock the wrist pin out. Pull the piston out. Regap it, make sure everything is like tight and sealed. You're going to want to resurface the heads and the block when you put that mating surface back together, so that way any irregularities in the material surface isn't going to cause any issues with the head gasket failing down the line. There's a lot that goes into it. If you're doing it, you might as well just swap out rods and pistons at that point. Do I recommend any detailing products? I use Chemical Guys for everything. I'm a little bit of like a brand snob when it comes to like detailing products. Chemical Guys has always been like solid for me. What is it, like their Diablo wheel cleaner is really good. Jet Seal's been pretty good for me. Detailers, I've made a couple detailing videos, and there's like really good comments in there from actual detailers who have really good product suggestions. I'd swing through those, but for the most part, I just buy Chemical Guys stuff. What components needed to be upgraded in order to upgrade the turbo? I mean, you could just throw a turbo on your car if you wanted. But if you're going to be swapping out the turbo, I would at least do, if you're on an EJ, injectors, fuel pump, if you're on an FA and EJ, like combination, you're obviously going to want an intake. You're going to want a turbo back. You're going to want the proper fueling mods. You're going to want the proper cooling mods. If you really wanted to, you could just throw a turbo on there, turn up the boost a little bit, and probably be okay. But I would suggest doing like all the supporting mods that go around the turbo also, and not just trying to like pump a whole bunch of more power in there, because it's not going to be the most reliable setup that you're going to have. Chemical Guys are pretty good. See, I'm not the only Chemical Guys fan in here. Yeah. Oh, gee. Woo. Got to go, guys. Have a great Sunday. See ya. Hey, thanks for swinging by, Grease Monkey, my man. Have a good Sunday, my dude. FBO, FAWX, or on E, should I still run 5W30 or 5W40? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think you'd be fine with 5W30. I haven't seen a lot of FA20 WRXs going up to 5W40, but if you really wanted the extra viscosity, it probably wouldn't hurt the engine to do so. It can't be much different than the BRZ's FA. I know the bottom end is a little bit different. I know the heads are a little bit different, but I'm going to be swapping 5W40 into the BRZ. So after I actually run in the BRZ for a little bit, I can give you a little more of like an analytical answer to that one. So give me like a month or two, and I'll actually give you like an analytical answer regarding the oil going into that. For cleaning and detailing products, Chemical Guys is what's up. I'm losing my voice now. Just bought my first mods for 18 STI, AOS, and AW catback. What should I get next? An access port, my man. Get an access port. After an access port, that kind of opens up the gateway for all the other mods that you're going to be doing. How hard is it to change piston rings on an STI? We talked about that, my friend. We talked about it. Damn it, I'm late. Nth level entertainment, my man. We've been going for like 70 minutes now. I'm about to hop off here soon. My voice is starting to disappear. Do I have a discount code with TMG? I don't, but I'll bug Brian and I'll get one. I will get a discount code for channel members from TMG. Intake manifolds are around 2G. Would you recommend this upgrade as an EG25? What a lot of people do is they get NA intake manifolds, naturally aspirated ones off of older EJs. They have a lot better flow than some of the newer ones do because they have bigger ports on the inside of them. If you want a good intake manifold for cheap, just buy naturally aspirated like EJ20 manifold. They work pretty awesome. How would I be able to figure out if I have a MAF or MAP sensor? I guarantee you have a MAF and a MAP sensor if you're a turbo car. If you have your MAP sensor is going to be on the intake before the turbo, your MAP sensor is going to be on the intake manifold. So the MAP sensor reads manifold absolute pressure, so it's reading the pressure inside of the actual intake manifold. The MAP sensor is reading how much air is going into the car. But I guarantee you do have both of them. Recommendation on tuners in the Seattle area, or do you think surge line for 2013 STI hatchback? 2013 STI hatchback, my recommendations are going to be surge line tuning, PRE Racing, or English Racing. They're all super good shops for tuning WRXs and STIs. Just saw the video of the dyno on the BRZ, man. Well done, my dude. Thanks, my dude. Thanks, my man. Speaking of which, here's the winner of the guessing of the BRZ power numbers. How's the open dump on the BRZ? Is it too much for a daily? Not at all. I love it. It's actually not as loud as it was on the STI. The STI was like significantly louder. I hear you saying turbo back downpipe. What's the difference between regular catted J-pipe NVIDIA versus turbo back J-pipe? So turbo back is going to be your downpipe and your cat back. A downpipe is just going to be the downpipe. So it's going to be a downpipe with a stock cat back. So turbo back, from the turbo back, everything's been changed. Just a downpipe is just the downpiping changed with stock cat back. No, stay on, bro. I'm learning a lot. We need more power, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Dude, my voice is starting to disappear. We've been going. I might do another live. If you guys want, I'm going to have to take a break for a little bit. Just let my voice catch up. I can do another live stream later if you guys want. Just say, like, yeah, let's do it in the comments, or, yo, let's not do it. It'll probably be later tonight, though, because I do have a couple of errands. I do have a couple orders to pack and go drop those off at USPS for those of you that have placed orders. And I got to send our winner his order as well. But if you guys want me to do another live stream later tonight, I'm totally down to do it. I love the channel, brother. Solid work. Keep up the content. Hey, appreciate it, my dude. So hyped to see the turbo BRZ on the dyno earlier today. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Am I on Facebook? I am on Facebook. Tanner Smith. You might be able to find me. If you guys do send me Facebook like friend requests, I don't typically accept a lot of them. My Facebook is more of like the personal stuff that I have going on in life. Instagram, YouTube are pretty much the ones where I'm like open for everyone. But Facebook, I tend to keep pretty personal, so don't get offended if I don't accept your friend request or I don't see your message. I rarely check Facebook Messenger if you guys are trying to shoot me messages on there. But all right, looks like we're doing another live stream later tonight. So if you guys haven't watched dude, I'm sorry, Kevin. I'm sorry, man. Don't make me feel bad like that, dude. All right, one more question. If I install the flex fuel sensor, could I drive to the tuner on E85? No. Get a base tune. Your car's going to have no idea what to do with that ethanol sensor. All right. I'm going to hop off. I'll probably jump back on, do another live stream like 2 to 3 hours. I'm going to get these orders packed. I have a couple errands to run. I want to go drive around the BRZ a little bit more. But I appreciate all the donations from everyone. I appreciate all the new channel members. I'll put a new update for the channel members, the new ones that have just come in. Also, I'll give you guys your discount codes for merchandise and your early access stuff to be able to order merchandise before it goes live on the website. So with that, I'll catch you guys in like 2 to 3 hours, actually. So, I mean, have an awesome Sunday afternoon if you guys don't swing back through, and I will see you guys in a couple hours.